where he shares a house with around 30 others, mostly Ghanaians. They're at the sharp end of Italy's new clampdown. Have the police been here? Yes.
Which is last month.
Last month. Justice may be familiar to you. He's the Ghanaian we've followed since 2007, famous for how he survived the notorious Mediterranean crossing, where many of his friends have died. Tricked by people smugglers, he was dumped in a boat which sank. He ended up clinging to a tuna net for 3 days.
We are all crying, even me, we are all crying. I started praying, at the same time I was crying. I don't know what is going to happen. I know that I was between death and life.
His story helped win international recognition and sympathy for survivors of the route, something which is now in short supply. Because of his ordeal, Justice is allowed to stay, but some in his house have reasons to fear the dawn raids.
Not all of them have a document. 2 or 3 of them, they don't have the document.
So some of the people in this house are illegal?
Yeah. Like the last time the police came here, they took 2 of them at the police station. So they fingerprint them. They took them to like an immigration office.
It's been a turbulent Italian summer for migrants caught up in Berlusconi's new security laws. There's the recession too. Many are jobless, some are homeless.
There was no job, nothing. We are all in the house, you know.
Yeah?
Since morning, they all went out to search for a job, and nothing.
Then there's this. Berlusconi has found an unlikely ally in the pushback, Libya's Colonel Gaddafi. For him, migrants have become a bargaining tool. He agreed to help push the chain all the way out of Italy and back into Africa. And Berlusconi's now Libya's biggest trade partner, with about 40% of exports from the oil-rich state. The Italian opposition is seething.
If I could run my country, I wouldn't be friends with Gaddafi. I would maintain tight relations of diplomacy, but from a great distance, since I think of him as a person not fit for democratic principles.
But we've seen a warming of relations with the UK too. The Lockerbie bomber's been released. And we've agreed not to pursue the killer of policewoman Yvonne Fletcher through the British courts. In turn, Libya has signed a major oil deal with BP and helps push migrants back along the chain.
Getting a rogue state like Libya back into the international fold is a very desirable and good thing, morally, to do. We said, as the European Union, and UK was part of that, we said to them, if you want normal relationships with us, you've got to stop people getting onto boats into the Mediterranean and drowning at sea and being exploited, and we want you to be part of a civilized response to that.
Those already here face a Europe-wide shift in public opinion, and politicians are queuing up to harness the anti-migrant vote. The leader of the BNP has been swept onto the European stage, with his own take on those who smuggle themselves across the Med.
The only measure, sooner or later, which is going to stop immigration and stop large numbers of sub-Saharan Africans dying on the way to get over here, is to get very tough with those coming over. Frankly, they need to sink several of those boats. They can throw them a life raft and they can go back to Libya.
In Italy, that sort of remark is commonplace, leading to bitter divisions among politicians. Berlusconi has demanded zero tolerance on clandestines, lumping them together with common criminals and calling them an army of evil. Migrants have been murdered on the streets. Last year, 6 were shot dead near Naples by a gang posing as police officers. All politicians condemned the attacks, but the left compares what's happening in Italy with Nazi Germany.
This idea of the hunt of the clandestine, which is inflated each day more, reminds me very much of the dawn of the Jew hunt. Sooner or later, it will happen to everyone, that if you aren't of Aryan race, you'll be thrown out.
One of the cheerleaders for Italy's hard line on migration is the firebrand right-winger Ignazio La Russa. He's a good friend of Prime Minister Berlusconi and a government minister used to a fight.
What do you say to those individuals who have compared your position with the Nazi Party in Germany in the 1930s, the way that you're treating migrants?
Are you crazy? If you do a question like this, I stop immediately to give you any answer.
Okay, but I'm saying people like Di Pietro. I'm just quoting him.
I don't know what to say Di Pietro, but you are not Di Pietro, so you are not so stupid. Pretendere di prendere tutti gli immigrati.
To bring all the migrants to Italy and lock them up for months in centers of identification and expulsion and eventually expel them causes much more pain and is much more inhuman than sending them back immediately to the port from where they came. Otherwise, it would mean helping criminals. Criminals are those who land in Italy in an illegal manner.
They try to land here. It's the Italian island of Lampedusa, a dot of European soil close to Africa. Make it here, and they're transferred to the mainland. They arrive in dangerously overcrowded boats. When I was there in 2007, the quayside became a field hospital for those saved at sea. Helping was Laura Baldrini from the UN Refugee Agency, but the chain's been pushed back, and now she's becalmed in an office in Rome.
Normally, we are, many colleagues are together. We are in Lampedusa, receiving and assisting thousands of people, thousands of asylum seekers. So this is a calm we are not used to.
Last year, nearly 40,000 migrants attempted the crossing, but the pushback stopped the flow almost overnight. It's reduced arrivals by around 90% and cut the death toll dramatically. This is how it works. Libya and Italy have agreed to patrol the Med together, intercepting migrants before they reach Italian waters and returning them to Libya.
For me, I say they have to even consider, because someone who come to Italy through by the sea, just imagine how difficult it is. People are dying, but God has helped you and you survive. They still want to deport you back to Africa, you know.
Those who are sent back find themselves guests of the Libyans. For many, it's their greatest fear. Justice knows why. He was held in a Libyan detention center.
And you know Libya quite well. What do you think happens when you're sent back to Libya?
If you send back to Libya, because first they will hand you back to the police. It's very hard. You know, I can't explain unless maybe if you visit their cells.
So we did. The pushback's been so effective, Libya's having to build more detention centers to cope. They know it's sensitive and want to show us how they're treating migrants intercepted on their way to Europe. They're kept in pens according to nationality. We wanted to see those at the top of the list for asylum, Eritreans.
Hello. Hello. How are you?
In Eritrea, political dissenters face imprisonment and torture. There's evidence asylum seekers returned there are jailed.
We are asylum seekers, so we don't need to go back to our country.
I know.
Yeah.
I understand. When did you come here? When did you arrive?
We arrived about 5 or 6 months before.
How have they treated you here?
I heard they treat us like this. The feeling is not that much enough. Also, no connection with our family. They don't know whether we are alive or dead. They don't know. No one knows about us.
But one human rights group is trying to keep a close eye on Libya's treatment of migrants.
What they do is they treat all refugees, asylum seekers, migrants, as illegal immigrants, plain and simple, and they throw them in jail, and oftentimes it's an indefinite detention.
Mostly the men were packed inside, sheltering from the sun.
Hello.
In this one, a surprise.
How are you? Very young. Where are you from?
Eritrea.
Eritrea?
Eritrea.
Okay. How long have you been here?
7 days.
7 days, okay. How old?
14.
14?